There is a saying that I think has a lot of value, and it goes something like, what is in the way actually is the way. So it's looking at the stumbling block as a gift, because it'll have lots of answers in it for us. So if the question that we're considering is, do I stay or do I go? We would encourage reflection on not just this stumbling block, but everything that's around it. Because sometimes we just get fixated with what the stumbling block looks like now. But if we can step back far enough and get that lovely balcony perspective and have a look at this dance floor of, there was a stumbling block there 3 years ago, and there was a stumbling block there 3 years ago, and there was a stumbling block there 3 years ago. There's a pattern. So is there an opportunity for us to look at, is there a different way of moving forward? And yes, we can be lucky, and we might have the next one might be 5 years, or it might be 4 years, or it might be 1 year. But if we're not actually looking at what is happening in the stumbling block, then what we're doing, it's like the parents that will take their kids from school to school and say, my child keeps on being bullied, but the same thing keeps happening in each school. So we need to look at what are the behaviours, not that we're saying that we cause this to happen, but there are behaviours and thinking that can create patterns for us. And unfortunately, what it does, it actually sets up the scene for different characters to play their part that become part of this stumbling block. So what we need to do is really look at what are the triggers for us? What creates the stumbling block for us? And sometimes it is about stepping back and saying, you know what, this is not healthy for me, and to look at the resilience factors, and yes, that might be the reason to go. But even in the exit, as a coach, it's really important, I think, to encourage the person to look at what are all the, what's the ripple effect of this action, but also what's your part in it, and perhaps what could be done differently. How can we avoid this next time? What are the early warning signs that were happening along the way that perhaps we didn't notice? And it can be about naming behaviours, it can be about going into a flow of work behaviours that is not healthy for us or for others. So it's actually looking at all the different parts, like a stage show, and see who the characters are, what the scene looks like, and the identity of the characters in terms of what they're bringing as well. And then being able to name it and see it for what it is, so that when we see any indicators coming up, we think, okay, I know this. I've got a choice. I can continue going down that way, which will probably mean this stumbling block will get bigger. Or I can start practicing or looking at different ways of treating this, or calling it, or looking after yourself in that. And that's really important as well, because we start being able to step back and it stops owning us, and we can start seeing it for what it is, rather than it's that causing it and that causing it. And start looking at what you can actually, above the line, take ownership and actually authorship, so that you can write the next stage for yourself.